Okay, so I have my basic comb shape here. What I want to do is add some dimension to make it more visually interesting. To do that, let's add some highlights. I'm going to go to Object, going to go to Path, and to Offset Path. In this case, I want to offset the path into a negative. That way it will go to the inside of the path. And we can preview that and see what it looks like here. And it looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's give the path some color that we can define it by. I'm going to just sample this white and then swap the fill and the stroke, so now I can see that stroke. And I'm going to give that stroke a little bit of width. And now I'm going to get the scissor tool and I'm going to modify the stroke because I don't need that entire line inside, just in certain places. And then I'll get rid of the pieces I don't want. Now let's give these two paths that we've got here some dimension. So I'll go under, select the path, right? I can go over to my stroke palette, once I have it selected, and actually give it some dimension. That's one place that you can do it, and another place you can do it is you can do it from the pull down menu at the top. That looks good. Now let's do that with the other path here. Give that a similar dimension. I'll zoom out and take a look at this. Okay, that looks good. Now let's add some snakes. I think I'm going to put them on their own layer. So I'll lock what I've already done with the comb so far. I'll show the sketch underneath, and I'll create a new layer to put the snakes on. To create the snakes, I'm just going to again use my pen tool, but first I'll sample this color so I can use the same color and then swap the stroke and fill again. Then I'll just, not the pen tool, the pencil tool is what I'm going to use here. Again, the same kind of settings would have to do with, whether it's more exact or whether it's smoother. And I'll just draw in these snake forms roughly. Right. Now, some of these forms already have too many Bezier points. Remember, fewer points make better curves. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually select all of those paths that I just drew, and I'm going to simplify the group of them because it's not as important to me to be very specific with these. And now I can go in and do some more manipulation very specifically. Remember, if you select your direct select tool before you go to your pen tool, then if you use the command key, it will toggle back and forth to the select tool or to the pen tool. Also, you can use the option key to go to your convert anchor point tool, which is super handy. That way you don't ever have to get out of the tool in order to go to use those direct select and anchor point. Now here, this is what it looks like now so far. Now we're starting to get the form we need here, but we need to give it added dimension. So I went to the width tool. With the width tool, I can go to spots along the path and increase or decrease the width there to give that even more dimension. Just FYI, if you hold down the option key, you can expand or make it smaller from just one side of the path rather than both sides at the same time. So now I'm starting to get more kind of snake-like forms here. I might want to go in and do a little bit more specific kinds of manipulation there. Okay, that's looking pretty good now. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to select all those, and I'm going to expand the appearance. Remember, when we use the width tool and many of these other profiles of the stroke, all we're really doing is putting an effect on there. Once we expand it, it becomes now a shape. I'm going to go ahead and simplify those strokes along those shapes there. And once I get something I like, I'm going to say okay. Then I'm still going to have to go in and do some modifications. So I'll use the lasso select, and I'll go in and select some of these here and maybe simplify that so I don't have quite as many points along that, and then maybe adjust that a little bit more. Okay, those are shapes now, they're not strokes anymore. But if you remember, our snakes had some space between them where they overlapped. That gave it a more graphic kind of look to it. Now we want to achieve that here. So let's go ahead and look at selecting one of these. We'll bring it to the front to make sure that it's in the front. And actually what I've done here is I'm actually going to add, again, I've gone down to path, offset path, only this time on the outside of the path, not the inside. That is a path now that I can select and do the pathfinder and subtract that new outline from the path below it. And that'll give me this look here. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Now let's do that to a bunch more. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is going to select all these things that are blue, and I'm going to combine those by uniting them on the Pathfinder palette. You might note that now my white highlights are gone, but that just means that they went to the back because I did the unite that pulled that shape to the front. So let's do this where we can bring it to another layer and put it on the front layer. And we may want to expand those as well so they're no longer strokes, and now they are also shapes. Make sure we save, and we're done.